The old community garden was bursting with bright roses, lavender, and sunflowers beneath the warm afternoon sun, yet one corner held a sorrow so deep that even the flowers seemed unable to brighten it. A successful businessman walking through the garden noticed an elderly woman kneeling beside a bed of white lilies, desperately wiping away tears before anyone could see. Her trembling hands gently touched each flower as though they were the only friends she had left. What he uncovered that afternoon would expose years of silent humiliation happening behind the doors of her own home and would forever change not only her life but his as well. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances still exist, please take a moment to like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel. Every act of support helps our community continue sharing stories that remind us compassion can still change the world. At 44 years old, Coulter Brennan had everything most people believed guaranteed happiness. He owned one of the largest landscaping companies in the region, employed hundreds of workers, and had recently been recognized for donating public parks and playgrounds to small towns. Newspapers admired his success, but very few people knew that his greatest love had never been money. It had always been flowers. His late grandmother had taught him as a child that every flower bloomed differently, yet none was more valuable than another. Whenever life became overwhelming, Coulter found peace walking through gardens because they reminded him that beauty often grew quietly without asking for recognition. That afternoon he visited the community botanical garden to discuss sponsoring a children's gardening program. While speaking with volunteers, he noticed an elderly woman sitting alone beneath a flowering magnolia tree. She wasn't admiring the blossoms like everyone else. She was crying so softly that only someone truly paying attention would notice. Every few moments she forced herself to smile whenever another visitor walked by, then lowered her head again as tears slipped onto the petals she was arranging. Her name was Maribel Ashcroft, and at 72 years old she had once been known throughout town for her extraordinary flower arrangements. After losing her husband 8 years earlier, she had continued caring for their beautiful garden because it made her feel close to him. But as her health slowly declined, she moved into the home of her only son, believing she would spend her remaining years surrounded by family. Instead, she slowly disappeared inside that house. Her son loved her, but he worked long hours and rarely noticed what happened while he was away. His wife viewed Maribel as an inconvenience. She was given the smallest room, expected to complete household chores despite painful arthritis, and constantly reminded that she was a burden consuming space and money. She wasn't physically harmed, but the daily criticism slowly convinced her that her life no longer mattered. The only place she still felt alive was the community garden, where flowers never judged growing old. Coulter quietly approached without interrupting her grief. He simply sat on a nearby bench and admired the flowers until Maribel looked up. She quickly apologized for crying, embarrassed that a stranger had witnessed her sadness. Instead of asking uncomfortable questions, Coulter complimented the arrangement she had created from freshly cut blooms. Her eyes brightened for the first time that afternoon. She explained the meaning behind every flower, describing how lilies represented peace, lavender symbolized healing, and yellow roses reminded people that friendship often rescued hearts before love ever could. For nearly an hour they spoke only about gardens. Not once did Coulter ask why she had been crying. Sometimes kindness begins by allowing someone to feel seen before asking them to explain their pain. Over the following weeks Coulter continued visiting the garden every afternoon after work. Sometimes they planted flowers together. Sometimes they quietly watched butterflies drift between blossoms. Little by little Maribel began smiling again. One afternoon she accidentally rolled up the sleeve of her sweater while reaching for gardening tools. Coulter noticed dark bruises around her wrist. She immediately covered them. His heart tightened. He gently asked whether she had fallen. Maribel quietly admitted the bruises came from lifting heavy laundry baskets she struggled to carry because she didn't want anyone at home accusing her of being lazy. She insisted everything was fine. But her eyes revealed a lifetime of silent loneliness. Coulter contacted a trusted social worker who specialized in elder care. Rather than rushing toward confrontation, they carefully visited Maribel's home under the pretense of discussing a community gardening project. What they discovered broke their hearts. Maribel's room contained little more than a narrow bed, one dresser, and a small chair facing a window. Family photographs had been removed because someone believed they made the room look cluttered. The beautiful gardening books she treasured sat boxed in the garage. Her late husband's belongings had quietly disappeared without anyone asking whether she wished to keep them. Nothing illegal had occurred. Yet everything felt profoundly cruel. Coulter arranged a meeting with Maribel's son. The exhausted man listened in stunned silence as he learned how isolated his mother had become. Working endless hours to provide financially, he had failed to notice that emotional neglect had quietly entered his own home. The realization devastated him. He openly admitted his failures and promised they would change immediately. His wife initially became defensive, insisting she had sacrificed plenty already. But after attending family counseling and hearing Maribel finally describe years of humiliation she had hidden to avoid creating conflict, something inside her began to soften. She recognized that frustration had slowly become bitterness, and bitterness had robbed her of compassion. Healing didn't happen overnight. Trust rarely returns as quickly as it's broken. But genuine effort slowly replaced old habits. Maribel moved into a bright downstairs room overlooking the backyard garden. Her husband's photographs returned to the walls. Her books filled new shelves. A comfortable chair was placed beside the window where morning sunlight reached her favorite orchids. Then Coulter surprised the entire family. Using his company and local volunteers, he transformed the neglected backyard into a magnificent flower garden inspired by the one Maribel and her husband had built decades earlier. Neighbors donated plants. Children painted colorful flower pots. Retired gardeners offered advice. Within weeks the yard became the most beautiful garden in the neighborhood. People from across town visited simply to admire it. Maribel was invited to teach free gardening workshops every Saturday afternoon. Families attended together, learning not only how to grow flowers but also how patience, kindness, and careful attention helped both plants and people flourish. She often reminded visitors that flowers bloom best when someone believes they're worth caring for. The same was true of human hearts. Months later the city honored Maribel with a Community Legacy Award recognizing her lifetime of bringing beauty into other people's lives. During the ceremony Coulter stood quietly in the audience, smiling as children presented bouquets grown from seeds she had planted herself. She no longer saw herself as a burden. She saw herself as someone whose wisdom still mattered. Her son rarely missed another family meal. His wife became one of the strongest volunteers at the community garden, hoping her actions would slowly rebuild the trust she had once damaged. Together they learned that love isn't measured only by providing someone a place to live. It is measured by protecting their dignity every single day. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment telling us about an older person who made a difference in your life. Let's honor the people whose kindness helped shape who we are today. Another warm afternoon arrived, filling the garden with butterflies, children's laughter, and the sweet fragrance of blooming roses. Maribel stood among the flowers without tears this time. The same hands that once trembled with sadness now confidently planted hope into the soil, knowing every blossom carried proof that even neglected hearts can bloom again when surrounded by compassion. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Together, our community can continue proving that the greatest gardens are not the ones filled with the most beautiful flowers, but the ones where every person is treated with kindness, respect, and love. Sometimes the most heartbreaking wounds cannot be seen. Yet one person willing to notice another's tears can begin a healing journey that changes an entire family forever.